She leaves without shame in Manila, Sultan blue. Though we're different as can be, we're connected, she with me. We are one woman. Your courage keeps me strong. We are one woman. You sing, I sing along. We are one woman. Your dreams are mine, and we shall shine. We shall shine.
And one man he hears her voice, and one man he fights her fight. Day by day he lets go the old ways, one woman at a time.
Though she's half a world away, something in me wants to say, we are one woman. Your victory saves us all. We are one woman. You rise and I stand tall. We are one woman. Your world is mine, and we shall shine.
Okay. Good afternoon. Welcome. My name is Maritza Cruz, and I am the Director for Race and Gender Equity here at the YWCA of Central Massachusetts. It's wonderful to see you here, and thank you for joining us on this very important day, or actually month, or every day, which is International Women's Day, Women's History Month also. But we here at the YWCA, and I think most women here, I would say all the women on this that are present in this program will probably say that every day is Women's Day, because we do run the world, don't we? We make it a better place. So thank you for being here. I want to let folks know that this program is being recorded, and it will be available for viewing later on. We will send to all folks who have registered. You will be receiving a follow-up email with the link where you can view this very important program. And also we will provide some resources for further information and further reading on the topic that we are actually addressing today. So 2022 International Women's Day is Break the Bias. And this is a very important theme because we have many, many women who are actually breaking the bias and entering and changing the workforce and the construction and changing the demographics. But before we move on to that, I would like to introduce our fearless leader, Deborah Hall, who is our Chief Executive Officer here at the YWCA of Central Massachusetts.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Maritza. I'm so excited to be here today. As Maritza said, this year's International Women's Day theme is Break the Bias. And that's definitely what we are doing, our wonderful panel is doing every day. Since 1885, YWCA has dedicated, the YWCA of Central Mass has dedicated our mission to empowering women. From offering childcare centers to emergency shelters to girls and women's leadership development programs, we have been and continue to be a community of support, empowering hundreds of women as they, in turn, empower their families and communities. As we celebrate International Women's Day and Women's History Month, we also want to celebrate and highlight women who have blazed trails and broken down barriers to ensure future generations of women can achieve their full potential. Please follow the YWCA's social media and help us spread the word and celebrate and honor these everyday sheroes. Before we start the program, and I turn it back over to Maritza, I want you to just for a moment, imagine a gender equal world, a world free of bias, stereotypes, and discrimination, a world that is diverse, equitable, and inclusive, a world where difference is valued and celebrated. Together, we can forge women's equality. Collectively, we can all break the bias. Thank you so much for joining us. Maritza, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much to you, Debbie. That's our call to action right there, isn't it? To actually create a world such like that without any bias and without any discrimination and without any racism. It depends on each one of us to do so. So once again, welcome. So what I'd like to do is start the programming and put it into context. And the reason why we're doing focusing on the construction and women in the trades. So here in Massachusetts, women make up 10.3% of trade apprentices. It's a number that's been rising in recent years. Although it may sound very modest, it's actually the highest in the country. It's the highest share in the country. There's also growing interest in the trades among girls, who now make up 21.1% of enrollees in Massachusetts high school vocational and technical programs. Under the Governor Deval-Patrick administration, they began requiring contractors to hire more women and more people of color to win state-funded building projects. In 2019, the Worcester Construction Workforce Disparity Study was commissioned here in Worcester in collaboration with the Worcester Community Labor Coalition, the Worcester-Fitchburg Building Trades, and the City of Worcester. Based on the research trades findings in January 2020, the city recommended and actually adopted the new workforce goals of 10% women and 38% people of color. For city-funded construction projects, for Worcester Redevelopment Authority construction projects, and for both tax increment financing and exemption projects under the Housing Development Incentive Program. The direct outcomes of this collaboration led to the creation and the establishment of the Worcester Construction Diversity Compliance Monitoring Committee. The membership of this committee makeup, it reflects community, it reflects labor, it reflects the business sector, and of course the city. Followed by the creation of this committee, the program and compliance manager within the city business and community development divide, Executive Office of Economic Development. This, folks, is really a systemic change that has happened within the municipality of the government of Worcester. We are here to ensure that the compliance is being made, that women are being included in the workforce, and also people of color and also residents of Worcester. So presently there is a labor shortage. The demand for trade workers is predicted to grow 1.6 million people in the next 4 to 5 years. This opens up the opportunity for high-paying, stable jobs for women, especially considering the ever-widening job skills gap most states are in the United States experiencing. On average, women of trade earn up to 35% more than traditional female-dominated careers that lead to a family-sustaining career that pays well with excellent benefits that include health insurance, and if you are a union member, a pension. Unfortunately, this sector of the economy has primarily benefited white men, as both social and structural barriers continue to prevent women and people of color from accessing these good jobs. Women in construction approximately make 47% of the total US labor force, yet only represent 9% of employees in the construction industry. There has been no meaningful improvement in the representation of women in the construction industry since the 1970s, despite the common assumption that such a disparity reflects a lack of interest or a desire for these jobs on women's behalf. Researchers have consistently found that both structural and lack of access to knowledge or training programs, apprenticeships, and job openings, and of course the social gender stereotypes and employer discrimination mechanism work to keep women out of these positions. Overt discrimination towards hiring women, and the process may also be fueled by very sexist beliefs that are very, very real out there, and stereotypes about women as incapable, as unqualified, and a potential sexual distraction for male employees. I have to smile at that last one. As such, employers, both intentionally and otherwise unintentionally, routinely hire men over women applicants, even when the two are similarly qualified. Also, a hostile work environment, social isolation, and stressful double binds faced by women who do not obtain work in the construction industry. However, our two panelists here today, actually our three panelists here today, we will learn with them what has been done to recruit and retain more trades women. And I would like to present and open up with, we have a short video we would like for folks to view.
Our Trades and Apprenticeship Career Class is a 7-week program. It's free to our students, and it's an introductory prep program for the construction trades. We offer a hands-on training component as a way for students to really gain deep experience in the field, feeling what it feels like to be a construction worker.
So what we're doing here, we're working in conjunction with the nonprofit called the Rebuilding Center. We're going to be taking out some of the rafters on the upper floors. Our focus today is very, very much on safety.
I've been teaching at Oregon Tradeswomen for about 8 years. We also have other contract field instructors that are professional tradeswomen.
We're trying to extrapolate from this to figure out what our roof opening is. And we want those 4-foot widths to lie in between these perfectly. You can go in this classroom and read up as much as you want, but if you're not in the field doing it and applying it and experiencing with your body the process, it's not going to gel.
Construction culture is all about being loud and really clear about what your needs are.
Ready? Yep. Coming down.
Women's training doesn't often include yelling and being direct with each other. So that's something that we really stress through the course of the program.
Tell us when you got it. Got it. Got it.
There's a physical component because the industry expects you to be fit enough to do the work.
1, 2, 3.
You are using your body in a way that you probably have never used your body before. It is your tool, it is your livelihood, and you have to build it. Our message through the course of our program is that you're an industrial athlete. I think one of the more challenging parts of teaching the hands-on training is balancing education with efficiency. It's hard to model the pace that the industry moves at in an educational environment.
You have a system, yeah?
Yes.
See if we can speed it up 5%, just 5%.
So when the student figures something out, when they have a method, I'll then press them to move a little bit quicker.
Okay, this needs to get done quickly. I want to move on to the next task. Let's go.
Most of the students that come to our program have very little tool experience. When we're teaching the students to use the tools, it is very much about throwing them in and having them do it.
There's the X, so
cut it on the
Yep.
side line.
they're learning layout and framing. Everything from reading a tape measure to knowing the technique of swinging a hammer and the why of that process.
So you could have just done that, maybe.
I think when I first started teaching the hands-on component of our program, what I learned very quickly is that if your expectation is high, the performance will be high. There's no reason why a student who has never had their hand on a tool can't immediately be productive on the job site.
The challenges I face is speaking in a way that they can understand, but building on their knowledge as you go, so that they understand the principles behind what they're doing. So when you're framing, you're always thinking about what the finished product is and how everything's going to lay out.
We want to teach our students to think critically. We want to teach our students to assess the situation themselves.
So I want to start down here, and I just want to start pulling these rafters out. But first, I want you to each take a really close look at how they're fastened at this point.
This is an industry that really values independence, and it values that forethought. And sometimes women need the permission to take charge.
You need to probably take this pony wall out unless we can twist it from up there.
I think one of the benefits of this industry is that nothing is ever the same. And that's intimidating at first, and it's thrilling by the time you gain some confidence.
So this one's different from the last one in what way? Yes. So how are we going to deal with that?
Yeah, we got to make sure that side doesn't come falling down. So someone on that side.
Okay. Now we have a plan.
There's sort of element of safety integrated into everything that we do.
Have we identified any more hazards? We're going to be working in the open sun upstairs, yes?
Yes.
So it's our job to stay hydrated as workers. So this is why I keep my vehicle packed with, extra water and sunscreen. It's just in my trucks.
We want to train our students that their workday is a series of micro decisions, and every one of those decisions contributes to their safety and the safety of their coworkers. And if we can get them in the mindset that making these small decisions is part of the industry expectation, then we've done our job.
Yeah, nice, nice.
Because there aren't that many women in the construction industry, it's important for our students to see women doing this work. And this is an opportunity for our students to watch our instructors out in the field who are skilled.
I believe we are back. So I saw that one of our panelists that we were having was a young tradeswoman, Jamalis Perez Moreno. And I believe, Lisa, you let me know that her phone was only at 2%. So she was on very briefly and then she went off. So Jamalis Perez Moreno is a apprentice, a very new apprentice with the Local 336, and she's a carpenter's apprentice. So I don't know if she will be getting back on again because she was actually calling us directly from her site. She only has half hour for lunch. This is part of the job from 12 to 12:30. And so she was actually calling us directly, and we were going to see her on site and ask her some questions on her experience of being an apprentice. So Lisa, can you
Yeah, I'm trying to see if she can get on with somebody else's phone. So
okay.
I'm working on that.
All right, so we're going to move along then. So we'll move along into actually presenting our two wonderful women who are in the field of construction. And the first person that I will be introducing will be Lisa Clausen. And Lisa Clausen is the Director of Strategic Partnership for the North Atlantic State Carpenters Labor Management Program in Central and Western Massachusetts. She was the first woman organizer for the Carpenters in Central and Western Mass. And Lisa has worked for the Carpenters Union for several years, recruiting women and people of color to the field and working to get owners of construction work to require diversity on their construction crews. Prior to working with the Carpenters, Lisa was the Community Political Director at the Unite Here Local 26, a union of hotel and food service workers in Boston. She also founded and ran Community Labor United, a coalition of unions and lower income community organizations working together on collaborative organizing campaigns in the Boston area. Thank you, Lisa, for being here with us. And so if you can give us a little bit of your very interesting and exciting and non-traditional experience and work that you've had.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here with you and certainly with the YWCA that's been such a partner on this issue. And let me know if Jamalis is able to make it back on. Someone else is trying to make their phone available for her.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I've been with the Carpenters Union for 6 years, and I got hired in part to do this work to increase diversity within our union and our organization, and to help create opportunities within our industry for women and for people of color, both men and women. It's been terrific to be a part of it. As Maritza said in her opening, the disparity report that was done by the city of Worcester helped really pave a path of highlighting the challenges that exist in construction historically and currently, and the need to bring more women and more people of color into this work. And then it's been the leadership of the city and private institutions like the YWCA that, as they're doing their construction work, have set diversity goals that really creates opportunities. So if Yamalise is able to get back on, you'll hear from her, but there's been a lot of people like her, of new women, new people of color coming into the field, building careers. They don't have to have experience. They can come in and learn that through a union apprenticeship program, learn it while working and earning a paycheck, but also having the training that's really crucial for them to be able to develop their skills. But bringing in more people is one piece of the puzzle, and the other piece is making sure that there's a demand for contractors to increase their diversity. And the City of Worcester's diversity work and a focus on diversity in construction with their own projects is helping create that demand. And private institutions like the YWCA, when you guys did your construction project, also are helping create the demand. A couple other places where it's happened in Worcester recently was the courthouse project, the Trinity Development did. Worcester Polytech has got diversity goals on their construction projects now. That's setting really important opportunity. The state has it with their projects. So over at UMass Medical, there's a new facility being built right now with diversity goals. Liz will talk in a minute about a school project where Fontaine is working on it. So all of this add up to creating more opportunity for women and people of color as we work to increase opportunities in the field. And the more, those of you in the audience, if you're a part of an organization that is planning or doing any construction, please, reach out to us and get involved in creating these opportunities. And I just want to take one issue, Maritza, with one of the statistics you said. You talked about 9% women in construction, and I think that's including when it's construction management. And so the number is still lower on women who are actually working with their tools. So it's really important that it's creating opportunity elsewhere. So I see that Yamalise has joined us. So maybe, Maritza, I'll turn it over to you to introduce her.
All right, thank you, Lisa. And Yamalise, welcome. We're so excited to have you here with us. Can you hear us? Yamalise?
Yamalise, you'll have to unmute the phone.
Oh. There you are. Oh, how exciting. Look at this woman on the field. So we have with us, welcome Yamalise Perez Moreno, and she is actually an apprentice, a tradeswoman apprentice. She's a carpenter's apprentice with Local 336, and she's actually on her lunch break working and took the time to be here with us. So Yamalise, I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. Can you tell us what made you choose to go into the field of construction, of carpentry?
Hi, I actually decided to go into carpentry because growing up, that was one of the things me and my dad used to do, working around the house and doing drywall and stuff like that. And it always interested me. And I figured, that saying, if you do what you love, you won't work a day in your life. That's kind of what it is for me. It's like my passion. So I enjoy doing it, and why not get paid to do it,
Absolutely. That sounds wonderful. And I agree with you. When you do work at something that you love, it really doesn't become work. So Yamalise, how has it been since you've been working as an apprentice, as a carpenter? How has the experience been for you?
Well, this is actually my first year, and I've been working since after Thanksgiving, and it's been pretty good. I'm learning a bunch of things. I never really thought I would do like concrete work at all, and I never knew that was actually a thing. So learning all these new things about forms and stuff like that, it makes you feel like you could do anything and like build anything. So it gives you a lot of confidence, and you really like the people you're working with. So it's awesome.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And it's nice to hear that you're actually doing a little bit of everything and that you are being embraced. What kind of advice or recommendations would you give to any woman who would be considering doing exactly what you do?
I mean, I would tell anyone to try anything they would be interested in doing, especially carpentry, because it's such like a good skill to have, to be able to build things you want and make whatever you want in your vision. It's awesome, and it's really a good time. And even if you feel like you don't know how to do things, I wouldn't limit yourself just because you're a little scared. I would encourage a lot of people to do it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that advice. Do you have any other words that you would like, or information you would like to share with us before we let you go so you can have your lunch?
I can't really think about anything on the top of my head, but I would just encourage anybody to do what they feel like learning or doing, you know?
All right. And you feel that you've been getting support when you decided to make this decision to go into the field and getting support throughout. Yes. Huh?
Exactly.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate the time you have made for us. Thank you so much. Be well and keep building things. And hopefully when you drive by, you says, I built that. That's got to be such a wonderful feeling to have. So thank you for representing women in this field. Thank you so much. Take care and be well.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye. So that was wonderful to have someone actually out in the field, and that was Jamalis Perez Moreno, a young woman who obviously is fearless and really enjoys what she's doing. And I like the fact that, she said she would build things with her dad, and that she was able to pursue that love of building things. And so we have to continue to create all these opportunities. So Lisa, would you like to go back to what you were saying?
I'm good. I'm good with turning it over to Liz and to questions. I just appreciate the opportunity to keep highlighting the need for more diversity in this field. And it's as Yamali said, it's a terrific career that can be built. Good opportunities. There's lots of different directions she'll be able to go in her career and earn a living wage and with good benefits and help take care of a family as she's very young, doesn't yet have kids, but if she chooses to go in that direction at some point.
All right. Well, thank you, Lisa. And next we have Elizabeth Fontaine. I'm sorry. I'm actually equating where you work with your last name. We have Liz Wambui, and she is the Director of Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Impact at Fontaine Brothers. It's actually a newly created position with the company. Prior to joining this organization, she served as the Director of Advancement at the Nativity School here in Worcester. Elizabeth is passionate about engaging with community. She currently serves as a member at the Bancroft School Shine Initiative, Women in Development of Central Massachusetts, the Worcester Historical Museum, and at our own YWCA here of Central Mass. She is a board member. Elizabeth is also a Mechanics Hall Modern Mechanics Guild member and a Worcester Art Museum cooperator. And she's actually breaking also new ground, pioneering new ground in the private sector of the construction world. Welcome, Liz.
Thanks, Maritza. No pressure, right?
Pressure.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to participate on this panel. And I must say, Lisa, as you've heard, I am very new to the industry and new to the position, and it's a real honor to be on this panel with Lisa because she's one of those people who, like, on a weekly basis is getting a phone call, an email, a text message from me, right? Like learning from the pros. So just a little bit about Fontaine Brothers. We are a fourth generation construction management firm. So we operate mainly in Central and Western Mass. In Worcester, we actually built that big tall glass tower and also the Hilton Garden Inn downtown, as well as the first building, one of the first buildings for UMass Chan Medical School. So really we have a long history here in the city. Currently we are working on the new Doherty Memorial High School, which is really coming along. Wonderful for anybody who hasn't been on Highland Street lately. You can actually see the steel going up. And so it's really an exciting thing for the city and for us to be a part of. As Maritza referenced, this is, my position. I'm the Director of Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Impact at Fontaine. And so this is the first, I'm the first to sit in this chair, in this role. And, I'm not going to go into all the different parts of my role, which is exciting, which is one of the reasons why I was really drawn to it. But the two biggest areas of focus for me are, one, so as Maritza and Lisa have both mentioned, so the City of Worcester has compliance goals on all the projects, and a real tactical part of my role is to prepare the compliance report along with our partners over at Demio, the workforce reports, and share those with the city. But where I think we are super unique, and this was a really intentional thing, is to go beyond the compliance and to actually be involved with, some of the workforce development around, attracting folks to the construction industry. This is an industry that we're seeing a lot of folks retire out of. And we also know that this has been an industry that has, largely left folks of color and women, out of its workforce. And so working in partnerships with folks like Lisa, other community organizations, we've made connections with the workforce board here, working with building pathways, right? Because part of this is, working with Worcester Tech, making sure that we are reaching out to folks as early as possible in their, life experience. So they're aware, right? Because that's also the first, one of the first barriers, right? Like, how do you even enter into the field to begin with, if you don't have, a family member or a friend who has been, part of the industry. So that has been really exciting because we have formed different working groups, around this, right? We have a working group focused on working with, Worcester Tech and other technical schools in the area to make sure that we're doing that outreach to students. And with Doherty in particular, we're thinking about how can we use the project as a learning lab, right? And so that requires partnering with, innovation pathways. For example, are there things that are happening in the classroom that we can then use to engage and bring students onto the site so they can experience, right? As we heard from the video, part of what is exciting about this field is being able to learn, but also being able to do the work, at the same time. And so just to give a little bit of background about how we are making sure that we are helping subcontractors meet these workforce goals, we, even as early in the pre-construction phase, are having conversations with subcontractors to let them know, these are required. This is what we have to do, right? So at every stage of the process, subcontractors are aware. And so by the time we even, my partner over at Demio, before folks even get to us, they already know the seriousness of us meeting these goals. Because again, these are, all this information is public. Maritza referenced the compliance group that it then is reviewing these, the reports that we're sending. And so that's, step one. Right. We make sure to meet with the subcontractors before or almost immediately to them, getting on site. Again, we want them to share with us what their plan is to make sure that, they are going to achieve these goals. And if they can't, we help to be the conduit to resources, right? Have you called the union hall? Have you, reached out to Mass Hire? Are you, talking with building pathways to, to be able to, find the workforce to, to address any gaps that there may be. If, throughout the duration, subcontractors are having, trouble meeting these goals, we actually have regular meetings with them, right? And so those meetings are, it's myself, my partner over at Demio, and sometimes it could include, a representative from the compliance manager from the city, right? Depending on the seriousness of, of non-compliance. So we are really, at every step of the way, are in regular conversation with our subcontractors. And the thing that we love about having, the compliance boards, the groups that Lisa helps convene, is that it really highlights that this is a partnership, right? This is not, Fontaine beating over subcontractors, no, we are doing this together because we understand that this is the future. Yeah. And we have seen the more, diverse your workforce is, the better you actually, do, right? So these are things that we are trying to make sure that we emphasize. And another neat thing, too, that I'll mention about these groups that have been convened, it's not just Fontaine at the table. It's every other general contractor and construction management firm that works, within the city. I see my friend Tammy over from Tachi is on the call as well. And it's, we're competing for the same work, but this is actually one, area where we've been able to really collaborate and work together, because at the end of the day, if we don't have, a workforce that is representative of the communities in which we're working in, none of us are really going to be successful, right? So I think that has been, one of the things that I've enjoyed the most, that I can call really any of the folks who are in my position at other construction management firms, and everybody's always willing to share resources and advice and therapy.
Yeah, and
So,
thank you, Liz. And I'd like to interject here on everything that you're saying. Is one thing that I'd like to just say that, I am also, director here at the Race and Gender Equity, but I'm also the co-chair for the Worcester Community Labor Coalition, and I'm also a member of the Worcester Construction, Diversity Monitoring Committee here in the city of Worcester. So, and working with all the different companies that you mentioned, they do. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because, one of the things we want to see happen is that contractors are talking to each other in order to be able to comply with the numbers and the percentages that, the city has requested of any public funded project here in the city of Worcester. And, it's a very proactive, again, the monitoring committee it's very proactive. We're there to support, to provide also resources, because there are folks on there, like I said, the makeup, you have, mass, hire at the table, you have business, you have labor, you have community folks, and you have the city. And we work, with, the jobs fund that provides, building pathways, and also any other resources that we are able to provide. That's what we're there for. So I'm glad to hear, what you're saying, and that this is also now being filtered out, into the community, and that you have contractors, talking to each other about this, because, we're very serious about it. We're very serious to make sure that people do comply, because it does have to be enforced. And one thing we find is that when we have asking, the contractors to provide a report, it actually is preparing them to really take the initiative to make sure that they are complying with the numbers. We'll look at it and say, oh, there's not enough women on here. Why is that? And we ask why, and we'll get different explanations. It depends on what phase of the job they're in. It could be that there's not enough, women iron workers, or whatever it may be, but at least we have a response about as to why it's not being complied with, and give the opportunity to say, okay, can you go back and come back to us with better numbers?
Yes, no, absolutely. And, to your point too, some of these, situations are super real, right? So when we saw in December, in January, whichever third, fifth, 10th wave of COVID we had, it really just across the board, not just at Doherty, it really was affecting, sites all over the state. So sometimes there's some really good reasons why, we're not seeing, the high numbers that we are. And I think your other point about the different trades is a really important one, right? Because let's be honest, how many times in our experiences as women growing up were you told you could be an iron worker? worker, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's, you know, and that's part of the education that, you know, folks, like Lisa, folks, within really every union they're doing to be, communicating early and often to young people that you do belong here. And, having someone like Yamaris on this call where she can talk about, her experience, and who knows what, young woman might see her and experience, and hear her story and be inspired by her story. So
representation matters. Representation matters when you're driving by and, and you see, women and you see people of color working on a construction site, it becomes the norm. It becomes something that's to be expected. And that if you're, a young person, or even an older person, you can look and say, oh, I can do that too, especially if you're a woman. That's so important because representation does matter.
Absolutely. Yeah, we had a tour at Doherty last Friday with students from Monty Tech, and just seeing all these, women operators. I mean, that would have, every time I see that is super cool, right? I mean, I can't walk in a straight line on most days. So like to see someone, I think it is really, really cool. So, those are the kinds of things certainly, we're trying to do here at Fontaine and working with, other partners to achieve. So.
All right. Thank you. So now I have a couple of questions for both of you. And if anyone in the audience has a question, please feel free to put it in the question and answer section, and we will try to get to it and have our Lisa and Liz address it. So the first question is, what are the efforts being done, and you've answered quite a bit of this, Liz, to address and support women in the trades? And the gender biases that are still being, faced, that we have to deal with. Lisa?
Sure. And just before I get into that, I have to mention, because it wasn't brought up earlier, that Jamalis was calling in from Doherty High from the construction price project, and it's her first job, and that's, her great positive experience has been on Fontaine's job and under their leadership. So that's terrific. So I think, a little bit in terms of what's in place. On the one hand is work being done to have diversity goals on more jobs that creates hours for them and creates women being asked for if a contractor does not currently have a diverse workforce. And generally it's hand in hand on having goals for women and goals for people of color, both men and women. And obviously as a woman of color like Jamalis's, she's counted in both categories because she is both. So that's important. Certainly some of the things that Liz talked about doing the outreach in the community and to schools and letting people know that that there are opportunities, that they are welcome. So that's really important. And we try to do a lot of that with tradeswomen themselves doing the outreach, and younger women as well, so people can kind of see themselves as a possibility. And then there's a lot of supports once women are in, because obviously we don't want to just get people in, and we want to make sure that they are staying and building a career. There's a very robust Central and Western Mass tradeswomen group that we meet regularly, and sometimes it's just talking about work issues, and sometimes it's social events. So actually there's an event coming up with a big group going bowling next Saturday evening. And so, having tradeswomen connect on and off the job in those ways. And as you mentioned, Maritza, we have a group that both the YWCA and Fontaine are active in, called the Policy Group on Tradeswomen's Issues, that brings people together to figure out ways that we can all, from the different hats we wear and places and organizations we're in, how we can collectively be working to increase opportunities in the field. So I think it's important to be working kind of on all these different fronts.
And Lisa, and I find that with the trade group, the policy trade group, it's really quite an interesting mix of people, because you have folks coming in from just very diverse backgrounds to support this effort. Who are some of the like different entities
Sure.
that sit there?
Yeah, so there are some people that we call owners, representing owners. So officials from state or municipal agencies who are putting diversity goals in their jobs. So representatives from the city of Worcester, but also State Department of Transportation or the UMass Building Authority, DCAM. Then there are some private owners who attend. So Clark University is active and participating. And actually, I didn't mention them earlier. They've recently set diversity goals on their projects going forward. And they have a current project just starting up. So, other colleges and universities have been active. And then general contractors. Liz is an active participant in Fontaine Brothers. There are also other general contractors and sometimes different subcontractors who participate, but they're educators. So Worcester Tech often has people participating in it, as do some of the other Voc Tech schools. We time the meetings to start at noon so we can have people like Yamalise calling in on their lunch break if they're working, and some tradeswomen who are out of work currently will participate for the whole meeting. And then it's union officials, it's community organizations, it's pre-apprenticeship programs. The city of Worcester runs a pre-apprenticeship program. There's also Job Corps. So there's a number of kind of different people coming from different perspectives to it. And it's really useful because we all can expand this work in our different arenas.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. And I agree with that. And I like to say, the YWCA of Central Mass, we are also part of that, and we sit at all these different places really supporting these efforts. And I think it really takes an entire community to really support these efforts, because that's how change is made. It's not just made in one place, but it has to policy and organizations and the businesses and and so on and so on. Liz?
Yeah, it's community organizing at its best, right? Like it's amazing. And one of the things that I really appreciate about those gatherings, I mean, even just yesterday, getting some feedback about what we could be doing differently, as compliance officers, right? Like get on site, like talk to people, really understand the experience, because if, unfortunately, as we know, sometimes situations come up, we know how to handle it, right? And so, the gatherings are really, I really look forward to them every day, every time we have them. On the, for us, this is something that we're going to be doing ongoing, regardless of whether projects have goals or not. It's something that we have committed to, saying we want to make sure that our subcontractors are having diverse workforce. So, certainly it's great when you have an owner who's, already, doing, taking the step of establishing those goals, but also, in our position, we can help owners think through, along with other partners, think through, what, those goals might look like for them, right? So based on, their own particular situation. And, I think, I don't think we've mentioned this, during this conversation, but in addition to the workforce goals, we do also have goals for utilizing women-owned and minority-owned businesses as part of the goals, certainly for the city of Worcester and other municipalities. So that's also a really important way, because for any any owner who certainly is from a historically underrepresented group, breaking into this industry can it takes a lot of time. And so we want to make sure that we're also, doing our part to engage underrepresented business enterprises in all our projects as well. And that's also becoming more common, right? Because it's women, it's people of color, it's veterans, and every owner, every project will look a little bit different, but, for the most part, women utilizing women-owned business enterprises and minority-owned business enterprises is also part of what we're doing.
And that's important, because in doing this, it really kind of shoots off all these different areas that can also be addressed and need to be rectified. again, because of everything that's happening with the Construction Diversity Monitoring Committee, we now have the city of Worcester, looking to ensure that minoritized contractors and women-owned contractors and businesses in general are going to have the opportunity to have access to, jobs such as this, and that they are included, because it's just not the workforce, but also the vendors and the suppliers and so on, to be aware. And that's, wonderful to hear that Fontaine, Brothers is doing that. I just want to say thank you to Tammy Gott from Tochi, who was here and said that you all did a fabulous job. So thank you to her for being here.
It's Tachi, and they actually are the contractor that built the courthouse.
Yes.
Did great diversity work there.
Yeah. And I think it's, again, having people in the industry taking the lead to do this, others are going to follow, and that's what we hope to see, so by having Fontaine Brothers and Tachi and whoever else is doing this work, here where we had Consigli, where we had an all-women female leadership team that did, the renovations here at the YWCA. And I always like to put out there that we were also the first to sign a community benefits agreement. It's the women to do that. But I think that's really important because, again, one takes the lead and you hope that others will follow. The next question that I have is, what can be done? And actually, why is it so important having women in construction and trades business? Why is it important?
I'll take that one. Particularly when the work is done union, it's a really good job. It's a job where you don't have to have a college degree, where a criminal background, a quarry, is not going to generally stand in your way of work, where many people enjoy the physicality and the hands-on work and working with their tools. And it's a career path that for many people historically have moved, have taken somebody who doesn't have a college degree and still been able to have a middle-class lifestyle and support a family in it. And women should be having that opportunity just the same as men. And people of color should be having that opportunity just the same as white people have. And so that's where it's just so important to be bringing in more women into the field. There's talks about, even before the COVID job shortages, there's talks about worker shortages in construction and kind of a wave of retirement that'll be coming. Well, there's a whole segment of the workforce that's not been utilized in this industry and that has the possibility to be utilized. And then one more point, where it's on the point you just made prior to this question of having leadership and others follow. I think when we first started talking with you and others at the YWCA about putting diversity goals on your construction project, there weren't any projects in Worcester that had that. And now, since then, there has been the ballpark, there has been the courthouse, there has been WPI, there has been the city setting these projects, there has been now Clark. And so there's been a good wave of following. There's a huge amount of construction out there that still could be following as well. So just want to add that.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. Anything you'd like to add, Lisa?
Oh, no.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. And I think, following on what, Lisa, what you said, well stated, female leaders, especially women of color, can be a valuable resource, an extremely valuable resource for their peers, for our peers, inspiring future careers and encouraging also other women to further advance their careers. I think you both, do that very, very well. So tradeswomen, it doesn't matter what trade you're in, really play a very pivotal role in inspiring a new generation of women with their presence and what they have accomplished. Young women will see that having a trade isn't just for men, it's for all of us. if I was a younger woman, I think I would be going into the trades because I actually like working with my hands. I love it. I actually do all the repairs in my house. I put tiles, I can do acoustic ceilings, I paint, you know, I can do some sheetrocking. So I'm like, but it's a little bit late for me. But I just want to say thank you so much to both of you. I find both of you inspiring, and it is a pleasure to always work with you. And moving forward, and you know what you're doing is you know, it's gender justice, it's social justice, it's racial justice work, and it's in all the different fields where we need to be doing this. But thank you so much for being here with us, and keep doing what you do, and you know, we hope to see you out there. So thank you and be well.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you. Yes, and I'd like to say thank you to all of you who participated and were here with us today. Like I said, we will be sending an email, follow-up email, where you can actually have a link where this will be has been recorded live. You can view it again, use it as a learning tool, learning for information, and also some resources that we can send to you for further reading on this topic. And who knows, maybe you'll be inspired to, you know, become a member of the construction crew and become a tradeswoman. All right, thank you. Be well, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.